when we talk. There we go.
Okay, so thank you all for your patience. I'm so sorry. We did a trial run with this yesterday. Worked perfectly. I got here at 8 o'clock this morning just in case anything should happen. And here we are an hour late. So I appreciate your patience. What I've had to do is usually I have things preloaded. So nothing's preloaded because it's bogging down the laptop too much. So just be patient when we transition to show you a website. It might take a minute. And then we will also email you this whole presentation, and it will be recorded also. So with all the technical difficulties, we're just all gonna just bear with me, please, and we'll get it all going here in a minute, okay? The chat box is open, so if you have any questions, you can just type your question in there and we'll answer it. And so everybody keep your fingers crossed and nobody breathe for the next 2 hours, and here we go. All right. So Jane, I'm going to pull up. Oh, this is Jane Kleinert. Jane Kleinert is very patient. Jane, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I'm so flustered. I'll probably mess
You're
it
good.
up.
You're fine.
So you go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'll be pulling up your presentation.
Okay. Yes.
The only thing is I can only pull up.
It looks okay on there? Oh, okay. Yeah.
That helps.
Okay. Well, hi. I'm Jane Kleinert, and I'm a speech language pathologist and on the faculty at UK. And some of my special interests are obviously children with disabilities, but especially I had a lot of experience and fun with children and families where one of the family members has Down syndrome. My sister had Down syndrome, so I've been part of the community for, oh, you don't want to know how many years. Okay, so what we're going to talk about this morning is using iPads and also any kind of tablet, and I kind of look at where you can find apps that might be useful. I want to give you some examples, but I think the best thing to do is give you lots of places where you can find those apps. We have examples. If the technology works, that's great. If it doesn't, what Tracy and I talked about is just going ahead and sending the whole PowerPoint electronically, because the little short tapes are in there and the hot links are in there that'll take you right to the site that we're talking about. And the only thing you have to remember to do for that is see how the PowerPoint is opened now. You want to open it in that presenter mode, and then if you just click on the links, it's going to go right to the link. Okay? So I'm asking Tracy, should we go for it?
Yeah. I just need to get in here and share my desktop.
Okay.
This might take a minute. So this is everything we had preloaded, but now we're having to load one at a time here.
You know, and we don't have to go to every link. I can tell you what it is. We don't necessarily have to run the little tapes. I can describe them. And then if you get the PowerPoint electronically, you can just sit there and play with it.
Yeah, we'll send the PowerPoint. We will send the PowerPoint.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, now we're almost there.
We have to move to see if we're still here or if we've frozen.
So Melissa, do you see the?
It did, when he was doing that, it went up to show them what you had on there, but then it went back away.
Okay. We're trying to get so we can share the PowerPoint with you. Yes, we've done this. How many times have we done this?
Anybody want any coffee? More coffee?
Connection problem. Really. Okay, let's do this. It's not connecting. So we will send you the PowerPoint, and I will try to get the camera on the PowerPoint, okay, on the wall.
Good idea.
Okay.
Okay.
So tell me when you can, because I can't.
That up? Over just a little bit more. Watch me. Right there. Quick.
Good.
Melissa, is that good?
I think that'd be easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a full battery. I hate doing kids like that. I get creative.
Okay. So I know this is an idea, but we will send it to you also. So, all right.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about, we use the word iPad all the time, but I wanted to make sure that that you know that there's also apps for Android. Everybody doesn't have the same instrument. So we'll talk about both and make sure there's both. I probably will just do. Yeah, okay. So what we're going to talk about today is what you probably know, that there is a little difference between iPads and Androids because it affects which apps are going to work. And so we'll look at some from both. I really wanted to talk about apps. I want to show you some, but also a lot of cool sites where you can just go and look through. So if your son or daughter is 20, you're going to want different apps, obviously, than if your baby is 9 months old. So we'll kind of go across the age span and look at several different places. The skills and needs of the app of what your son or daughter needs is really what determines what you're going to look at. The ones we'll spend some time on are communication apps, then language development, literacy, which is so, I can't say it enough, important for kids who happen to have Down syndrome. It helps their speech, it helps their language, it helps everything. That's how we access general curriculum, the whole bit. So literacy, and then obviously academic kinds of things. Now, as we go through these, we'll mention these are apps that are most frequently used or people like the most. And then I'm going to spend a little time on helping you find them and then deciding which ones you like the best. This? Okay. Okay, so the goal for the session is technology. That's our problem. It's great when it works. Okay, it's just to let you know what's available. Okay. Okay, so first let's just look at iPads versus Android. So yeah, obviously you'll know the difference, but we'll look at sites for both. And so we'll go on. Okay, so iPad, iPod, and iPhone, and this is something you want to know right off the top. When you go to look for an app, they'll tell you if they run on all three. Okay, so if it runs on an iPod, it'll run on an iPhone. But sometimes it'll go on an iPod but not an iPad, or vice versa, and people are nodding, so some of this you're going to know already. Androids, there are zillions of them. They run on a different operating system, but there are separate sites to purchase those apps. Okay, so the difference is we have different manufacturers. The cost for the instrument itself might be different. The capabilities may vary, and you just want to be careful which app site you're going to. For the iTechnology, obviously, go to the Apple Store. Androids, Google Play is a major one that everybody uses. There are a few more. So the first thing is we're going to match your device. Okay. So what are apps? You know what apps are. You've got them already. They're basic little bits of software that do things highly specific to the purpose that you have them. So there may be one that teaches ABCs, and there may be Google Maps where you can get to the restaurant that you're trying to find. So there's all kinds of apps. What I want you to do is beware because there are so many. You don't want to go into, obviously, an expensive one unless you know it's really, really good. Making sure that the skills that the app addresses. So maybe it says it teaches reading, but you go into it and it's perfectly awful. So we're going to look at some and see how you can judge some of that. We want to know the purpose of them. Obviously, what I said we'll talk about today is communication, language, literacy, and academics. And like I said, which ones we use more often and how do you find them. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about are communication apps. Now, actually, what they're called are augmentative and alternative communication, and that's obviously for folks who are not speaking or who speak, but they're hard to understand. Now, I want to make a point, though, that some of the ones I show you are especially cool for youngsters learning to talk. Okay, they don't have to use them necessarily for communication. They're tremendous fun on building language. So I want to show you some that are really super fun and very inexpensive for younger children. And I want you to remember that, and please don't let anybody tell you if you happen to use AAC for a little while as your child's learning to talk, that will delay their speech. It absolutely does not. It facilitates oral speech. It's in the literature, it's in research, but I have seen it 1,000 times. So please don't worry about that. Okay. So who would decide on these kinds of apps, because they're specifically for communication, would be the family or the user. So if it's an adult, obviously your son or daughter is 20 years old, they have to be agreeable to it. Or if you have a young child, then the family is the first and most important person. If they don't like the system, you're not going to use it, are you? I mean, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think it was good for my son or daughter. The second is the speech-language pathologist, because that's what we do for a living. We better know what kind of communication system your son or daughter might need. If the child has motor problems, you might have OT or PT involved. Now, the big deal is if they're working, we have to know they probably have a job trainer, or they have certain aspects of their work that has to be on their communication device. So those folks would be involved in deciding a little bit what you're going to choose. Obviously, one device or one app doesn't fit everybody. Okay, so what do you have to know about the app that you might want to use for a child if you're going to use it to use for communication or to help them develop oral speech? Younger kids typically use pictures, but older individuals who have even a little bit of reading, okay, and I have worked with several folks who are older, they know what they want to say, and they are saying it, but you can't understand them, okay? That's a big problem when you go to work, okay? I have a friend who is doing that, okay? Bright young woman, she's got 2 different jobs, but when she goes to talk, even her family sometimes doesn't know what she wants to say. She can read some and she can spell some. And so we'll look later at what's called text-to-speech, which goes right on your iPhone or your iPad, or, well, iPad, you probably wouldn't be carrying that around, your phone or your iPod, or the Android phone, okay, where the person can just type in what they want to say, the word they didn't get. And you'll see an example later, like strawberries. That's a really hard word to say. So maybe you got everything the person said, but you didn't, they said, I want, but that you didn't get what that was. So even if they can type just a little bit, get the S and the T and the R and the A maybe, word prediction, that's the next thing, comes up. So they don't have to be able to spell the whole thing. They hit that, and then hit speak, and then people know what you're talking about. Okay, so you can imagine how incredibly frustrated it is. You're 25 years old, you know what you want to say, you're a bright person, and you even have a job, but you can't tell people exactly what you want to say. And then the third element fourth element being voice output. What's so cool is even with the very inexpensive apps, you can get different voices for age and different voices for gender. So that's really, really cool. We don't want a young lady who's 22 years old, the only voice on the app is a male voice. Okay, that just doesn't do. Okay. So the only thing with iPad versus iPod versus iPhone is if the person is mobile, obviously we want the iPod or the iPhone probably, because maybe, you can't stick your iPad in your pocket. But I got, not long ago, free because we got new phones. I didn't have an Android. I didn't have that kind of device. So for $10 along with the phone, I got one, and it's about the size of an iPad mini, and it goes right in my purse. So, some of those would be good. So just looking at the difference with that, and remembering that even though the technology has a lot of cool stuff, many of the Androids have exactly the same thing, and sometimes they cost less, which is kind of cool. And especially if your son or daughter tends to drop things and break them, we probably don't want a super expensive thing. We probably want something that's not quite as expensive. Or your kid is 3 years old and everything gets flung across the room. We may not want an expensive iPad. We may want something you can replace easier. And so, the technology is there. The apps are there for either type of device. Okay, so I want to show you some kind of fun things. Infants and toddlers, okay? Now, there's a really cool newer kind of technology that's come out, and it's called visual screen display. I absolutely love it. I'm going to show you an example if we can get it to come up. Essentially, you take a photograph. Now, I'm going to go up one here. Let's say I take a photograph. There's our puppy dog, which we love our puppy dog, okay? And it goes into this app, and the app that I like to use because it's only 99 cents or $1.99 is called Storybook Picture Talk. And it might be Picture Talk Storybook, but one or the other. And it is so cool because you just put that in there, and then it's very simple. If I can do it, it's simple, okay? And what you do is you touch on a place, like the puppy dog's tail, and it lets you, it puts a little red dot there, okay? So there we are on the puppy dog.
Doggy, my doggy. Ears, doggy's ears. Nose, nose.
So for a little tiny one, or for a toddler who's learning language, okay, this one is so cool. So it doesn't have to be used for augmentative communication. It's a great little language tool, and it's your puppy dog. And, you put pictures of your family in there. And, we always do that. Speech pathologists, we go, bring your pictures. I want to see if your little boy can find mama and daddy and all that stuff. And it's a little boring. I mean, come on. After so many times where we stick that picture in front of the kid, that's boring. This is fun. It's 99 cents. Kid learns to identify the people by doing it himself. He touches the little red dot and it says, Daddy, that's my daddy, or Mama, that's my mama. I love Mama. And the cool thing that I want to get across to you guys is it's not just to teach vocabulary, it's for conversation, okay? So with your little ones especially, this is a really fun, cool thing to do. He can babble with it. It doesn't matter where he touches it. It comes up, you've put that in there, it tells you what it is, and the baby hears it over and over again, okay? So he hits Mama, and it says Mama over and over again, and they love to see the picture. You make sure it's Mama's voice, okay, because you put your voice in for each little spot. So if Mama's voice says Mama, and Daddy's voice says Daddy, I'm Daddy, and Bubba's voice says I'm Bubba, then he also is connecting that person. older kids, a little older kids maybe who are not developing maybe cognitively as quickly as we wish, they can take that to school and have conversations, okay? It doesn't have to be a big fancy augmentative communication board. He brings his photographs when the teacher says, we're going to talk about us today. We're going to talk about family. He's got it right there, and he talks about his family just by touching them. So little kids, think about that one. It's super fun. So there's Picture Talk Storybook. The other one is called Seen and Heard. I don't like it quite as much. It's a little more expensive. Now let me show you a 9-month-old doing this, a little baby who happens to have Down syndrome. This is on Janice Light's website, and it's one, if we have time at the end, we're just going to go and play with. But if you have a little bitty, do go to that website. It's so fun. There's tapes and tapes and tapes of kids all different ages who happen to have Down syndrome, and you see all kinds of cool activities that can be done with these little inexpensive apps. And you see how the babies, this baby we're going to see if she'll come up, is only 9 months old, and she's having a ball with this. Janice is at Penn State, I believe, and has done lots and lots of wonderful research, and she's got this incredible website, and it's all about teaching children language. And the cool thing is many of her tapes are kids who happen to have Down syndrome, so they're great examples, and we know they work. Just like for our kids, we don't have to wonder, they work. So here's, if we go to Genevieve, I think is this little gal's name. Here she is. She's 9 months old. And just watch her playing with this. Now, Janice is using kind of a fancy instrument from a few years back, but it's exactly the same thing as just the iPad with the Storybook Picture Talk.
Something else up here? This is one of your favorites, I think. Stop.
There's the baby doing it too. And look at all the interaction with all the people. That's what we got to have. Oh, languages with people. And there's her sister over there. It's something your kids' brothers and sisters can do with them. You don't have to be there all the time. It's simple, quick, and easy. And look at that. She's 9 months old. She does it by herself.
Wow.
Okay, we can stop. Okay, and you can put anything in it. Used to be we had to have, we'll finish from this and come back later. I used to have fancy equipment. No, all you need is an iPad or a Droid and one of these little called visual screen displays. They're fantastic. Okay. Okay, and that's just the example that you saw about the puppy dog. This is another one, a little older. That one is really cute.
Oh, I can get there.
It's just cute. It would be fun for spelling. This little gal's obviously older.
Most of you know this little gal.
Yeah.
It's Ava.
I think I Mom, if it's okay. That was my daughter used to work with Ava, so when she came back, her mom didn't for a visit. She didn't tell Ava that Lauren was coming, and that was Ava. She was like, "Oh my gosh, there's Lauren!" But this,
My name is Ava.
you can print with it.
I like wearing bows.
Okay, so you can use it with older kids because it's all personalized. So with Ava, we're going to be looking at reading and making longer sentences and things like that. So it's still a fun thing to use. It's my favorite picture. That's why I did it with this. Ava and my daughter are big friends. Her mother laughs because when Lauren was working with her, they went out in the backyard, and Lauren said it was a forest and they got lost. Ava was like, "Lauren, where are you?" Her mother said, "How do you get lost in the backyard?" You don't know.
They have a big backyard too. They live out in the
They do. Okay, so let's look at some apps that talk, and they would have pictures. Okay, so this would be for your toddlers and slightly older children. I'm going to show you 3 that are free. Okay. Now, wait just one second. Let's say, that's okay. Let's say that your speech pathologist says, I think maybe we should try some augmentative communication. Well, you probably don't want to buy a $250 app, okay? These are free. They're great fun. And I'll just show you some that I would recommend trying before you spend a whole bunch of money. Unless, the school system or the speech pathologist has the app, you can go onto that, and that'd be lovely, but I don't think you want to invest that unless you know that your son or daughter might like it.
This is Icon.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
We'll look at them. They all have voice. Now, ICOM set up completely yourself. So I want to drink, and then, it'll say drink, and you can put in everything you want there. Okay, so if I click, I would change that picture that says drink. I change it to eat, okay? And then I touch it, and it goes to maybe 6, 8, 10 squares, and I can put a whole bunch of things in there that I might like to eat, okay? And this is a free app, and it's personalized. You put your pictures in there. It's not, sometimes kids don't get pictures that are preloaded, as you call it, okay? So I wanted to show you this one because you can personalize the whole thing, and it's free. Then eventually you might want to put more with it, or if they can do it, then you can go on to a more expensive app. So that's called ICOM. I absolutely love it, and it goes on. It's cool because you go to the doctor, you don't want to drag the iPad, it goes right on your phone. Their child can play with it, or they can tell you things with it, and it's right in your pocket. So that's kind of a cool one. This one is a Lexicom. It
Eat. Apple.
Eat apple.
Okay. Now, this is a little more like what expensive apps do. They have what's called dynamic screens. And so you have a set of options on there like eat. And then older child or the child uses more expensive ones will hit eat, and then it'll go into the things that you can eat. The cool thing about this is it's free, and they have pages and pages you can choose to use, and most of these are for kids. That one goes all the way up through adults, okay? And those pages are free. You can get more later, but it's absolutely wonderful because it's free, and the child can make sentences with it, which most of them you can't because they're inexpensive, so you're not going to get long sentences made. This one you can make sentences. So the child touches the things they want. The print goes up at the top. Remember, we always want print, okay? Just in case my son or daughter's picking it up, we always want print, and then you touch it, and it speaks your sentence. And now, you don't put your own pictures in for this. They're preloaded, but they have so many that it's probably just fine, okay? Before you invest in something extra, this one's good. This is a great one just to teach vocabulary. Your child is using some single words. You just want them to learn a bunch more. So you go into the categories and you can teach them using this, and it's really, really fun. The trick with all of this, and let me tell you the big trick, you use it too, okay? Not just the child, because then they feel like, wow, I'm weird. Nobody else does this. The trick is to always use their communication device with them. If you're going to eat, you go, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. So you hit the eat. I want cookies. And that comes up, and you say, and you hit it, and it says want cookies. And then you say want cookies. Now it's perfectly appropriate to say to your child, what do you want? But when it's always tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me, your typical 2-year-old didn't have to have tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me. You talked with them and they talked back. We want to do exactly the same thing with our kids as you do with any child, okay? And so the trick with any form of communication, remember, is you use it and they use it, and then they think it's okay. And teach the siblings, teach brothers and sisters to use it, and the child will learn it much, much, much faster. Okay, so I think there might be one more here. Oh, this other one is kind of fun, very popular. And this is called Tap to Talk.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I want to go
I
home.
want to go home.
Okay, so this has preloaded pictures. It's free initially, and then you can buy a lot more categories if you decide you like it. I don't know that I'd spend a lot of money because, again, if your son or daughter can do this, they probably can use a little better instrument. But it's great to start, and it's great for vocabulary. So your son or daughter talks, no problem. It's a great way to build vocabulary, and it's great for conversation. Just remember, all of this stuff is conversation, not show me, not touch it, not any of that junk. That's why our kids won't do it, because it's boring. But if I'm doing it and they're doing it and they realize it means something, and I'm having a conversation just like Mom has with my big brother or sister, I'm going to feel so much better. Okay? So we'll go back now. Those are fun. Those are just pictures, and they all had voice, which is real, real important, and they all have print, which is terribly important.
We did all that, right?
Yeah, we're going down. We can go down all past all those.
Okay.
Okay.
We done with that one?
I've essentially said, yeah, this is just what I said.
Okay.
Talk, talk, talk. Make it fun. Yeah. Okay, now here's one which is extremely popular. You'll see it costs $249. This is the gold standard. But let me tell you, I know that sounds expensive, but do you know what we used to pay for kids to have augmentative communication? $8,000. Okay, now we buy an iPad for $400 or $500. This is the gold standard, Proloquo, and our kid has an instrument if they need it for 800 max. Okay, so this is, and I know that sounds like a lot, but it's not 8,000, which is good. And this is just a little boy, a nice example of a little boy using it. You can see it's a little more complex, but you can set it up however you want it. And this young man, let's see, symbol supported communication. Okay, I think he's gonna, I'm not sure what he's talking about. Let's see.
I feel happy. You're being happy. And more.
His communication skills, which for a long time has been a real challenge for someone like Andrew, has come a long way in the last 2 years. And a lot of that is to do with the introduction of Proloquo to Go. We've found that his communications and ability to interact with people has improved immensely. And we can't speak highly enough of what it's done to him and being able to communicate not only to us as a family, but also to our extended friends and family network.
I think what that dad said is super important. We understand our kids, right? I know what he's saying, but the neighbor doesn't, and his friend at school doesn't, and so we've got to make sure our kids are included. They're going to be included if they have communication. You saw on there just a few examples. Now, Proloquo can have pictures. He can build sentences if he wants. This young man, I don't know if you saw that, he types in and actually uses what's called text-to-speech, so he can already type, and I think his name was Andrew. So he had typed in Andrew, and because somebody probably said, what's your name? So Andrew was up there, and then he just goes up and touches it, and it'll say, my name is Andrew, whatever it was that his sentence was. So that one, I really, 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 really like Proloquo. There is another one that people are really beginning to use, and, oh, I'm sorry, these are pictures of Proloquo, and you can put it on your phone. You can put it on your iPad or your iPod. It's a super one for older individuals who I said, you know, what if I talk but people don't understand me? Put it in your pocket. You got it. Okay, goes right on the iPhone. This one is another one that's become very popular, and I want to make sure that you see it in case your son or daughter, sometimes the therapist will say, oh, this is the one we're going to use. Well, maybe you didn't think that's the one we're going to use, okay? So before you go along with it, you got to say, tell me the name. I'm going to look it up and see what I think. Remember, it's what you think that makes the difference. Is it going to work for you? Is it going to work for your son or daughter? It's pretty cool. It has 120 little pictures, okay, on the screen. And they connect just to one other page. So maybe there's an apple, which means eat. Okay, so they hit apple, and then it goes to the page that has all the foods. Okay, and they pick the food. And I think that's kind of cool. But the first time I saw it, I was totally overpowered. I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. But here's how you do it. If you can see there, when your child starts, you blank out everything but 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 things, okay? And then as he's ready, you add another one in. And everything stays in the same place. And so he doesn't have to try to remember where that one was. He's learned it really, really well because you only had 5 up there. And then you add 2 more, and then you add a few more. And they link, it's a dynamic screen, like I said, to another page. So apple might mean eat. Now he has to understand that. And so it might be a little harder to use it for a younger child, maybe not, because I went in and looked, and you can look at all these tapes. There's some pretty young kids using this and remembering and figuring out that these symbols mean that. And so some people think it goes faster. I talked to a speech path the other day because I was asking her about it. I've not used it, and she said, you know, I love it for conversation, like what I was talking about, conversation. But for your academics, because it only goes to 2 pages, okay? You hit math, and it goes in, and he can find an answer, but then it flips right back to the home page. I like Proloquo because I touch math, and it goes to that day's math page that I've built in there, and it's not going to flip back, okay? So it's what, you know, it's what you want it for. She said it may not be the best for academics, but it's super good for social because it's faster. So just letting you know that's out there. It also has a keyboard if you want to use text-to-speech. Okay, so we looked at some nice examples of that. And here are some, those are the gold standard ones at the top, and the lower ones are fun ones for text-to-speech. Now the gold standards have pictures and text. The ones at the bottom are super inexpensive, and they go like Speak It, I know goes on the iPad. I think Auto Verbal will go on one of the Androids. So let me show you what they look like. These are just for text-to-speech, 99 cents. Now I got to tell you, 10 years ago, we bought these for over $1,000, $1,200 was what you had to pay to get this. Now it's 99 cents on your iPhone. Somebody made a lot of money. Okay, and that's exactly what happened, was people made a lot of money. And now, because we have that anybody might want to use this, now it's affordable, which tells us something about, well, we won't go into that, will we? Okay, so this one, we're going to run one of these, what I did was go ahead so it wouldn't take too long. This is a great example, the strawberry example I was telling you. I think that one runs better. I've typed in a little of it. I said, oh, it turned, so maybe we'll go to the other one.
I said strawberry.
Yeah, the person could just type in, so you're at work or you're someplace and they didn't get the word strawberry. That's what I was talking about. Now run this, and I want you to see when they first start on the words. See it? Can you see it up there? That says strawberry, so I don't have to type it out. It has word prediction. That's why I say it doesn't matter if your son or daughter isn't a great speller or a great reader. If they can get it started, man, you're in business, because this 99-cent app has word prediction. That's unbelievable, okay? And really, really great, and helps if you just, you know, you're verbal, but people don't get everything. And this is a way you can do it, fits in your pocket, okay? So that's text-to-speech. I don't think we'll need to do this. There's, if you go back one slide, this is an absolutely hysterical, we won't do it, but it's on YouTube, and it's a 9-year-old teaching us how to do Speak It, which is that app. He's 9. If he can do it, I can do it, right? If it'll go to it, it is just a delightful little app. It's on YouTube, and it shows you how you set it up, too, so it's kind of fun. It might have, you know how they start with an ad. Well, it should have skipped the ad, so we'll try to not make you sit through the ad.
Oh, it's an ad for Click Meeting.
Oh, well. We'll take that one.
That's funny.
Yeah. Okay, here he is.
want to go to the App Store for this. And it is 99 cents, but you can get it from
Hilarious.
Solace.
I'm 9 years old.
You know what I mean?
He's telling you how to get it for free.
You have to go to search, and even if I can speak it, and install it. I installed it from the App Store, but okay, so once you've downloaded it and installed it, then open it up. I guess it's kind of an app review, but then again, not really. So you type in the text box something, and I'm gonna say hi. Or I'll just type in please subscribe.
Watch how he spells subscribe. He spells like I do.
Subscribe.
It's an X in it.
Subscribe.
You have a choice of 2 different accents and 2 genders. I'll show you male American voice, and then I'll show you the rest.
Maybe he's going to be a speech language
I
pathologist.
think he is.
Turn on my speaker.
I love this kid.
Now you notice that it's pretty fast, but I'll show you how to change that. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. It's not perfect, but I also made a mistake. I clicked you notice that's pretty fast. And I'll show you how to change that.
Now, we'll stop here, but actually, if you watch the rest of it, it's pretty cool. For 99 cents, you go in, you can change the rate of the speed. I mean, the rate of the speech. That's unbelievable, you know. Stuff that we used to pay thousands of dollars for 99 cents. So you can change the voice, you can change the rate of the speech, all kinds of cool stuff. Okay, and then I just wanted to list for you some of the most popular apps that you might want to look at in terms of communication. And so those are there for you. Now, for the droids, I wanted to show you that it's fine. There are some pretty cool ones. I love Alexicom, which I think is that AT one down there, or that might be Auto Talk. But anyway, some of the very same ones. They're not necessarily different, and then there are some different ones that work on the Android. So you're good either way. Okay, and these are very specifically Android apps that do very much the same thing. Now you'll see Tap to Speak is on both of them, and Alexicom is on both of them, and they're 2 of the best anyway. Okay, so there's all kinds of other things we can do, and I wanted to show you how you find other apps for articulation, speech sounds, for language, for concept development, for social skills, for moving from high school to the community, all kinds of things like that. This is a real cool source. You'll see where it is on the bottom. We're going to go to this in a minute, but not yet. This is from App Wheels, and I'll show you how to get there. It's one of the nicest sites I've found. But this is just a real cool thing that you'll find on there. It's speech and language therapy apps, okay? Now, they're color-coded, so morphology means just like if I want to learn plurals and ing endings and things like that. Syntax is grammar. Semantics is vocabulary, that kind of thing. Pragmatics is social skills. And phonology, phonetics, that just means articulation. Okay, so if any of those are of interest to you for your son or daughter, this is a good place to go. We'll go to the next page. We don't want to go to the thing yet, though. Yeah, just because this site went on it. Okay, so if you put in morphology, which means my child needs to have more mature language, okay? He doesn't use plurals, and he always says present tense instead of past tense, okay? He needs to work on that. Well, here are 3, and you'll see they're very inexpensive apps that this site is recommending, and they're usually pretty fun, and go on to, and they should say, now it doesn't say here if they go on to Android or iPad, but you'll know that when you go in to look at it. That'll be one of the things you'll check. So that's the example of 3 for morphology. There's ones for syntax, which I would really, really start looking at if your kid's 3 or 4 years old and he's just using single words. We got to get this bugger sounding older. You know, he's going to go to kindergarten. Or your child is 19 and he's getting a job. You know, we need to sound as mature as we can possibly sound. And so some of these, now I don't know age-wise if they'd be appropriate for an older student, but you can find some for older students, but that build sentences, and that's where we need to go. These are a lot of things like definitions, meanings of words, things that go together. Maybe your child is 6 or 7 or 8, and he needs a lot more just pure language development. He needs to know categories. He needs to know shapes. He needs to know really more academic stuff. These are the kinds of things that you'd look for. Pragmatics has to do with social skills. And so these, again, go into sentence builders. But there's one right there called social skill builders. And those might be real good for slightly older children, that you want them to have friends. And maybe these can help them. Sometimes they'll have pictures of individuals' faces and say, what do you think that person's thinking? You know, sometimes our kids don't read if a person's irritated or a person's tired and they don't really want to interact right now. Sometimes they miss that. And so those might be some things that they could practice there. Okay, and this is just articulation. The one I love the most, but it's expensive, is Articulation Station. These are a little more expensive, but speech therapists a lot of times will use these. Okay, literacy, as I said, hugely important for our kids. So I would really look for those. I'll go to the next one. I put some younger kids in here. I listed a lot of free apps for the younger kids that you can start with, letters, phonics, all that. This one is several sites very specific for phonics. If your child is, 5, 6, 7, 8, you're wanting them to learn vocabulary, so you might check out some of those sites. I want to stop here a little bit and just say that there's a lot more we can do with this technology than just the apps. We're going to go back to apps, but that there's a lot more you can do, and you can be creative just on your own. If you have an iPad or you have any kind of Droid device, and I got the one I said the other day purposely, you can create your own things like social stories. Some of our children don't behave perhaps as well as we wish they would, and they have a tendency maybe to smack when they don't get their way. Well, social stories are a great way to deal with this. You make your own little story. Hi, my name is Bobby. So we got Bobby. Oh, we don't have a Bobby here, right? I don't want to make sure I don't have a Bobby. Okay, my name is Bobby. Okay, go, and you go to the next picture. And this picture shows Bobby's wanting a cookie, but he didn't get it. And so maybe you have on there, oh, sometimes I don't get what I want. And the next picture shows Bobby maybe with his hand up, and we say, oh, no, but I don't hit. Mama doesn't like me to hit. Miss Smith doesn't like me to hit. My friends don't like me to hit. And then if I want something, I ask, please. Okay, that's called a social story. Okay, and you do it with your child over and over and over again, and trying to get them to understand, oh, hitting's probably not a great thing to do, but you're not fussing at them, you're not carrying on, and you're doing it with them when they're calm. Okay, so you do that before they go to school, and the teacher, when he comes in, she does it right as he enters the door. And then when something happens, she can say, oops, what do we remember in our story? And that works very well with kids, okay? Another thing is video self-monitoring and video self-teaching, okay? So you want your child to learn to tie his shoes, or you want your child to learn, it's an older student, she's learning to cook, okay? I had a mom, and she was so wonderfully creative. She just took the iPad, and she taped either her daughter or herself with each step of a recipe. Okay, and then the daughter watched the first video, and it said open the milk, and she did that. The next little clip says we pour it in to where the flour. I don't cook, so I don't know where you're going to pour the milk, but I know you pour it somewhere, and I know you stir it and you put it in the oven. I need one of these. And so maybe 4 or 5 little clips to make something, or putting the waffles in the toaster or something like that. So without any apps, you can be super creative. And I actually learned to do that from one of the moms that I was working with, and her daughter was like 17 and just really had a hard time remembering sequences. And then when she did that for her, then she was fine. She could follow sequences.
We did that, not just to interject, but we did that when Emily went to a new school. We went the summer before and taped, especially when we went to middle school and she was going to move classrooms. So we taped, like, this is your room. You'll come out of your room, you'll turn right, and then you'll go down. And I asked her teachers to be there, you know, like the week before school, and they would like wave at the door. And then she watched that over and over again to help her. And you all might see this a lot, but she needs to know, like, have I been there before? Mm-hmm. So that kind of made her feel like she had been there before, but we did that with the iPad. So.
You know, we used to try to do things like that, but it took forever and we had big equipment. Now you just take your iPhone, you know, and do it. It's so wonderful. So yeah, that's great. Have brother or sister tie their shoe slowly on the tape, you know, so you're not doing it over and over again. And they just watch that and learn, you know, to tie the shoe or use the bathroom or whatever it is. So those are just creative, fun things to do where you don't even need apps. Okay, so the biggest question I get from people is, which app should I use for whatever, reading, communication, math? So you fill in the blank. So some guidelines, these might be the areas that you're interested in. We'll skip on through. Okay, so how do we find these? I've listed some super wonderful listings, and these are cool. We'll go to one or two of them. The one I love the most is called Moms with Apps. Let's just go to that one. And oh, I'm sorry, we'll stop 1 minute. If your son or daughter is older, okay, like an adult, or maybe they're finishing high school, the very first one, called Bridging Apps, has a clearinghouse of apps. They have IEP objectives, but they also have apps specifically for moving from high school to the community, or high school to the workplace, or transition goals that really ought to be in that IEP. Even though they were supposed to start at 14, they never started transition with your son or daughter at 14 on the IEP, but it's supposed to be in there. So that's a really cool one if you have an older son or daughter who's moving in 14 and above, and certainly if they're going into the community, those apps are really, really cool. Now let's go to Moms with Apps, and we have to, that was one of those sites.
So
if we can find it, I should have put that in there and
fine.
Messed up.
Was it a YouTube?
No, it's a we could probably just go to a search engine and put Moms with Apps and it'll come up.
Can't type sideways. Tattoos. Moms with Apps.
Yes, that'll work. Yeah. And that one. Yeah. Oh, please come. It's so lovely. Okay. Okay. Is this it?
Discover apps for your kids, Moms with Apps.
Okay, cool. Let's go down and see.
Like get started or about?
Oh, shoot. Okay, let's hit get started.
Okay.
I was on here. Yeah, this is it. That's good. Okay. Okay, super cool. Look on the left-hand side of the screen. It'll tell you what you need, okay, and then you tell them what device you have. So I have an iPad, or I've got an Android phone, okay, or I have a Kindle. Then the age range for your child, and then if you go down, there are lots and lots of different subjects, okay. My child needs science, but he's 9 years old, okay. And you fill that in, and then you click it, and it'll take you to a series of apps that will work with a child who's 9 years old, has a Kindle, and you want to practice things with him, okay? So of all the sites, I think I almost love this one the best. There's a lot of great ones. There's another one I'm going to show you called App Wheels, which I love. But this one I really like because it's moms, and they update it regularly. And then there's a blog that'll tell you, I like this, but I didn't like that about it. And you can kind of get a lot, you can judge a lot more before you purchase it. Okay? So that one is a super good one. Okay. The 411 at the bottom is good. No, wait a minute. That's not apps 411, is it? Oh, sorry. The one, where's the one that says autism apps? That's it. Let's do autism apps, right?
This one
Well, go back.
here.
Yeah, and then I think it's,
I gotta get this back in presentation.
Yeah, I'm
mode.
sorry.
No,
Yeah.
that's it does it every time I click out of it. Hang on, we're getting back to the right screen. What's that?
did it.
Okay, stop. It took the power away. We'll get it back. Hang on, we're getting the PowerPoint back.
Do you want some help?
Not from you. My technology challenged husband just walked in and said he could help us. No.
He's having trouble stirring his coffee. Oh, document recover. Save the one you wish to keep. Yeah, that'd be fine. Just whatever we need to do there, baby.
That's good.
Yeah, but so.
Now, I don't think we'll go to these. I'll just tell them what it
Okay.
is. Okay.
Okay.
The second one on this slide, which says autism apps, don't worry when you see things like that, like autism. All they are just educational apps. And this particular app you put on your phone, and what it does is very similar to Moms with apps. They will give you all kinds of list of apps that you might want to use. We won't go to it right now because it takes a long time going back and forth. But as I say, don't worry if there's a different label there like autism. It's the same thing. They just tell you what skills, and you can go to them, and they're very, very good. So do like that and that search one too. Okay, so we'll just go on.
The problem is when I go to where I can get the, okay.
Okay, now here's a one. I don't think we'll, in the interest of time, but the second one that says list divided by grade and age, that's called Therapy App 411. It's a website, and it does a very similar thing. Moms to Apps is the best one I've found, but this one does have a lot of things in terms of therapy that you might want to focus specifically on for your child, and it's called Therapy 411, and it's nice too. It'll give you a lot of different options.
Do you want to go to that?
If we have time, I think, well, this is a wonderful site to go to for kids from about birth to maybe 6 or 7, that Janice Light site. And I would encourage parents of younger children to look at that. If we have time at the end, we might go back and visit that site.
It gets stuck there every time.
Yeah. Oh, I passed. Good.
No, we're all the way up at the beginning now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's locked up again. Mm-hmm. Give us a minute. We were doing really good.
Got halfway through.
No.
For commercial break, I know your speech, please can you get typing apps for your kids?
Oh.
So the question was, have we
Teaching
found
typing?
any typing apps for kids?
I can't pull one out right now, but I'll be happy to look. And I'll bet you OT, if you know an OT, I bet you they could come up with some. I'm sure there are,
I just didn't know.
Yeah. I didn't think to look for that, but that's a really good question.
And that smart apps, you can sign up for their, like, email, and they will send you free app Friday. And it's one of their
Yes.
apps that usually cost, some of them cost, are
Yes.
pretty expensive. And on every Friday, they will send you a list of the free apps. And then you just go into the app store and you look at it to see if you want to try it. That's mainly what a lot of those on the iPad there is from the smart app.
So you go to Smart App and then Free App Fridays. I'm
You
just
sign up
saying
for their
that.
email.
Yeah.
It's like a newsletter that they send out.
Yeah.
And they send out free app, it's called Free Apps Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Or you
That-
can get a text or whatever.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
I can't remember now, but.
Yeah. And you can find that on Moms with Apps too. They have that link, Free Apps Friday too. So, and what's the other one called? Smart Apps?
Mhm.
Smart Apps. Okay.
Sorry, we're just locked up here. You won't escape, it won't do anything.
Can you control all delete? Yeah.
Mm. Good. Okay.
And we have found several, for littler people, endless, ABCs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't,
They have a reading and math one now too.
now say that again. This ABCs.
ABCs.
Okay.
And it gives them, it'll put, endless reading, it puts them in a sentence and it reads the sentence.
That's what we need. Yeah.
Endless
Yeah.
ABCs, endless 1, 2, 3s,
Okay.
and reader.
Will you repeat that for the microphone?
Endless reader or?
Okay. So, endless ABCs, endless 1, 2, 3s, and what was the last one?
Reader.
Endless reader. Okay. So
Yeah, when
those
it comes
are,
up, they'll all come up.
okay. Oh, okay.
If you
So
just put
those
in
are awesome.
endless,
Endless. Okay.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll all come up. And they dance around.
Okay.
And little people really enjoy it, and it teaches them the sound of the letter.
Yes.
And then if you move on to the reader, it still takes the sound, and it takes the sound, and it puts not only the sound of the letter, but it puts it in the word.
Good. Okay.
Bubby has learned his sounds of the letters, like la 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 la, and the letter, and you can point to them on your shirt and give you the sound of it. He can't say, well, that's an L. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he can give you the sound of it, which is more important to me than telling me that's an L. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it do like blends and things like that, or just?
Well, as you go in the different ones, and it's got the reader, and these are all
Trying to go
free.
slower.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I paid $5.99. I think they're free now.
This is where it gets all.
So,
What company is it on there? It said, they had it on, you need to turn it on, and then you go to
Originator?
yes.
The company is Originator for the Endless series.
Well, it's not really nothing. No.
Okay.
So you have your cell.
My little guy, he loves, just sit and play with it, just sit.
Yeah.
And you have to, for OT, for fine motor skills.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because he had a real problem with a lot of fine motor skills.
Yes.
But now he can take and tap that, and you have to put it
Yes.
into a sequence. And it
Yes.
spells out the word, and then when it spells out the word, it tells you what that word means. So it's not just,
Perfect.
letters or whatever, it gives you a
We can go
word.
on.
Gives you the
This is
sound
we'll
of
go
every
on.
word that
Yeah.
makes
Okay.
that
We're
word.
gonna mess with it.
So then when you move on to the
Just
reading.
want them to know that that's there. So that's as far as we got.
Okay, we got back with our PowerPoint now. I apologize, it quit working. We had to reload it. So, but we're back now. So we're back to Androids. So.
Okay. I wanted to give you a list of Android sites where you can also go look for different apps that are available. And so those are all hot links. So if you get the PowerPoint and just put it in the presenter mode and click it, it'll take you right to it. Now, this is one of my favorites, and this looks overwhelming. It's pretty much just the symbol. This is called the app wheel, and it is super cool. If you go to the site, now let's go one page up. No, go back. Yeah, okay. That'll be a hot link, but I think if we go, can we go one more page on the PowerPoint and before we move? No, okay, so go back. We're going to go to the app wheel, which is super, super good too. What that wheel is, and you'll have to, go to the site to be able to see it well, but it's sort of like the Moms with apps, and what the guy did who put it together was to look at how your child learns. And so you'll see, let's wait for it to come up so you can see. Yeah. Okay.
We're getting there.
It's coming.
Maybe.
Okay.
Apps 4 stages.
Yeah. Just bring this so they can see the wheel. Okay. I don't know what you can see on your screen, but on the white part it says communication, social skills, behavior, learning methods, that kind of thing. So the first thing is you decide, that. The second thing in the green, he lists kind of learning traits. So if your child's a visual learner or an auditory learner, you'll gear with that. And then he goes out and looks at the categories. So my child's a visual learner and he needs social skills, and I want him to increase his conversation, turn taking or something. And so then you go to the outside, and there'll be several apps that would apply to that, to your specific child's needs and how he learns. And then the stages thing, and then if you look, on the left side of your screen, this is super. He has different stages of learning. So if you click on a certain stage, let's do one. I don't know what one, I can't remember what that is. It might be like, okay. So you want your child just to begin to learn. He's a little bitty. He's 9 months old, okay? So cause and effect is something that we want our kids to know, that if I do something, something happens. And I want you to remember that that is all that speech, and that's all speech is. If I say stand up, I can control your behavior. You'll stand up. It's all just cause and effect. That's one of the first things that we play with our little biddies doing. Well, this is a bunch of apps that will teach cause and effect, okay? And he reviews them and gives you more information about them and that kind of thing. Whereas if you go down to 5, 6, and 7, some of those have information on apps for employment, grooming, things like that, using a computer, using a telephone, those kinds of apps. Okay, so I like this one because it goes across the age span. It also gives you a lot of information. It helps you decide if it would fit your son or daughter and that kind of thing. So it's another real good one. And I guess we'll and that kind of thing. And one of the things she said was that it was very attractive and the things moved around, but it also had an element of where you trace the letter with it too.
Yes, I've got it on.
Yeah, okay. So like you trace the letter with it. And there's some others of those. If you look in the PowerPoint and look for storytelling and story reading, you'll find some others of those that are really good. They're good because they also incorporate the child tracing the letters. And you can do that, of course, on your iPhone or your iPad. So those do, and there's a couple more in here that have that capacity too. So let's go back. Okay, so should I buy that app? Well, you probably have done this. The big deal is to check the screenshots. Check the date. Now, if it's older, you probably don't want to bother with it. It'll probably have bugs in it and that kind of thing. So check the date. Read your description. Try the links. The big deal that I encourage people to do is check the ratings. See what people have said about it. That's the biggest thing. You know, it's sort of like well, anything else with an app. If you go in and it says it doesn't do well or my child wasn't interested in all, then you know you're not going to bother with it. Also, the date will tell you how recently it's been updated so that hopefully they corrected problems with it. But those are the two big things. Well, I also look at the cost, of course. The date and how people rated it and what they said about it are probably the biggest things. And remember, with your iTechnology ones, check to make sure it goes what it goes on. It may go on the iPad, but not the iPhone or vice versa. Cost, this was from a couple of years back from an ASHA study. About 30% of iTunes apps are free, 50% of Droid apps are free, which is really interesting. And I thought that was very interesting. And some exceptions to the rule. Now, this was in 2011. It might have changed, but it looks like BlackBerry tends to charge where some of the others don't. How do I keep current? I gave you a couple of sites. You can go to the American Speech Language Hearing Association and just put in communication apps. And they will bring up references for you, sites to look at, and also talk about whether or not they're good. One that I use a lot is called Geek Speech. If we go to the next slide, we don't have to go to the site. It also updates constantly. Moms with Apps updates constantly. I went in looking for an ASHA document that talks about how much screen time kids should have, and really warning us that we don't want too much screen time. Well, there it was, and it had just come out a week before, and it was already on their site. So whatever site you use, make sure they update constantly, okay? And Geek Speech will update constantly too. Okay, rules for using iPads. The one thing I want to stress is the kids, I don't care what age, they have to know it's not a toy. Okay, and so even with our little bitties, we use the words gentle, hold it, hold tight, touch gently, because obviously you can't afford for your phone or your iPad to go across the room and hit the wall. Respect for the device. You know, this is not a toy. Now, sometimes you run into a problem. You've already got a device, and my kid loves it, and he plays on it a whole bunch, but now we want to use it for language. Now we want to use it for communication. It ain't going to work. He knows how to get out of that and go to what he likes. Here's a trick for you that we used with this young man. He was way into high school and threw a fit and he threw the iPads across the room, which was expensive, okay? All we did was, before we gave it to him, we got two different color covers, you know, just the little magnetic covers. If it was the red cover, he knew that this is the one I work with. This is for my communication. I'm going to be very careful with it. If we put on the blue color, he could do his thing. The behavior went away. You know, so there's tricks that you can use. But if you're going to introduce it, make sure if you're introducing it for language or communication that the child knows it's not a toy. I'm going to do what mama or the speech therapist wants me to do with it on this one. You know, and then you may have another one, or just change the cover that he can play with. Now, I can't stress enough, limit the time. Okay, American Speech Language Hearing Association is doing a lot of research, and what they're finding is the more screen time, the less actual verbal communication. So you want to be careful. I love their line. It says, ensure that tech time does not replace talk time. So does that mean we can't use this with our kids? Absolutely not. It means we use it with our kids. You know, we don't give it to them and walk away. Sometimes you do for short periods of time. You know, if there wasn't a television, my 3 children would never have grown up. They'd all be gone and you know, done away with because they drove me nuts. Oh, watch the television. You know, I'm not an idiot. Especially my 3. My husband can attest to that. Don't you want to watch TV for a minute? Okay. But if you're going to use it for learning, then it's tech and talk time both, okay? It's not just used by yourself, and that's what we talked about at the beginning. It's for communication, it's for conversation, it's for interaction, it's for learning, and we're together. And that's all Asha's saying. They're not nuts either. You know, you need something to keep the kid quiet sometimes, but we want to limit that amount of time, and if we're going to do it, we're going to do it with the child or the student so they understand it's for communication. Okay, so I don't know if we can get
Yeah, I
questions.
Can go back and check the questions here. I'm going to. Oh no, just don't slow with that. Okay. So, if anybody has any questions, you can type them into the chat box and we'll see it. And then if anybody here has questions, you just ask it and we'll repeat it so everyone else can hear it.
And also, if you have a suggestion for an app or a place to look for them, just like Melissa did, if you want to put that in there and we can share with other people.
Yeah. What were yours called, Melissa? Endless apps?
Endless ABCs.
I'm just going to type them in there so when people
Endless
watch it.
1, 2, 3s. And I think it's Endless Reader. I'm going to look it up here.
Okay.
I guess I have a question. My son is 11, and he's fairly well behaved, and he wants to do what's right, and he wants to socialize with other kids, but he's very afraid to initiate that. And he's very afraid to try to talk because his speech is just terrible. It's just terrible. He knows how to get. And when they go, he goes,
Of
and
course.
He just shuts down.
Of course.
So the other day, a little girl came up and talked to him, and she introduced himself, and he said, "Hi, nice to meet you."
Yeah.
But then he didn't know what else to do after that.
Right.
And he was just like a deer caught in headlights. She kept talking to him, and he's like, "Huh." And so finally he came to me, he goes, "Mom, she's nice, very nice. I don't know what to say."
Okay.
So what do you do? I mean, what kind of apps can help with that? I know there's some social stuff in there, but he knows the social lines, but
Absolutely.
he doesn't know how
Right.
to convert.
Right. You know what would be really fun? Does he have siblings? Okay. Take some practice conversations or have them practice with him. So try to remember what the little girl was saying. Have them do that with him. And then you can prompt or they can prompt. One of the things that we don't do is in speech pathology and stuff, we don't go and find out what the other kids are talking about. Okay, so we don't know the current topics. And so one thing you might teach him, she's talking to him, it's conversation, so he has the niceties. He goes, yeah, I like that. Teach him some questions to ask her. So do you like something that's big for 11-year-olds? You know, I'm not sure exactly what they would do. You like? She can start talking. Okay, she's going to go on a roll. Have 2 or 3 things that he asks. Do you like that? Have him ask some leading questions like, what are you doing after school? Things like that. So they're beyond the niceties, but they get the other person talking, and it doesn't put as much stress on him. So if he practices those, having practice with his sibs, that kind of thing, and then listen. Just, listen to what she was saying to him and get some answers, and some next questions that would go with them. And so that's one of the women I work with really, really stresses that we don't listen to what typical children are talking about, therefore we don't know what to teach our kids to say. And I think that's a really big thing. I'm sure there are apps that, like there's social skills apps, but I think on this is the problem with this, it's generative. He's got to come up with it. So teach him certain things he can come up with. They'll be rote for a while, But then once he gets into it and he's talking to people, he'll learn what they say, and then he can say the same things.
That's very good. And I think he may have a two-part problem. He can memorize a sentence to say. We've taught him things like if he wants the music up louder, he says, yes, it's up. Say, Mom, will you turn up the music, please? But he has to practice that sentence over and over. He can't sequence his words. And a lot of his sentences are just one word sentences. And so when he feels pressure, it's just like, and so he tries a sentence and his words are all jumbled.
Okay. Well, what about we give him an assist? Okay. So I'll look for an app where you can store the sentences. Okay. Now you can do that with the expensive ones, the $200 ones. I don't know if you want to go with that, but there's got to be some that you could go ahead and put the sentences in, and he needs to tell his friends, I use this to talk sometimes. Actually they'll love it. Oh my God, that's so cool. Tell me about so he has that with him, and then when he's going to do that sentence, do you like such and such? I don't know what 11-year-olds like. See, that's my problem. I can't treat 11-year-olds. I don't know what they like. But that's in there. He just takes it out and it says it, and she'll love looking at it. And then tell the kids they can use it to talk with him too. And so it becomes a kid magnet rather than turning kids off. Right. Kids love technology. They love phones. iPods. What I did. We just got new phones for my two daughters, and they said, well, what do I do with this old one? I said, give it to me. It's an iPod now, and I just put on inexpensive apps and give it to families to play with and practice with and see if they'll work. So an old phone, just do it that way, and all we need is to get an app that stores, and that's what I'll have to, you and I can both look for them.
Now, was that Scene? What was it, Scene?
Oh, yes, it absolutely. But the one you want is Picture Talk Storybook. Okay, and yes, you're absolutely right. Instead of one word with the picture, he'll just open it to the question, and the question is, do you like I don't know, something. Do you like 11-year-old things? And that's what it'll say. It stores it. It's got voice, and use one of his siblings as the voice. Okay. If you can get him to tape it in himself, that would be the absolute best. If you can't, get one of his sibs to do it. So it's a kid voice. Okay. Yeah, and then he just takes it out. He knows he's supposed to ask the next question. He touches the picture, it comes up, and then he touches it again and will ask the question. It'll even print out the question if you want it to.
And that's Seen and Heard?
No, there is Seen and Heard, which is, I don't like it as well, but look at it because some people like it. The other, and that's $4.99, and the one that I like, I think is $1.99, and that's called Storybook Picture Talk. It's incredibly easy to use. Yeah. And I showed it for younger children, but you're brilliant. I hadn't thought, store it that way. It doesn't cost anything. It even has the picture with it, so the other person really knows, I don't like it. And let him know it's okay to tell his friends that's how he talks, Maybe the teacher, maybe his brother or sister can, maybe you can tell his friends that's how he talks. But that would be a wonderful way to do it. Brilliant. And that thing stores, at least 20, maybe more, sentences and phrases and pictures. That's a great idea.
I mean, he could practice those.
Absolutely. And the more he hears it, the more he practices it, and then he won't need it. And that's the great thing about all this stuff, is it allows the kids to practice, and when they don't need it anymore, they won't use it anymore because they don't want to use it. They want to talk just like anybody else would, so they'll drop it on their own.
Right.
Oh, great idea.
Does anyone else have any other questions? I know we've got started late, and so we're going to be aware of everyone's time. I know everybody's got to get back to kids and all that, but if you have a question, we've got room for just maybe one more, and then you can always email me your questions, and I'll email them to Jane. And again, I apologize for the late start and the technical difficulties, but I think we We muddled through it, and you know, Jane is such a great resource, and you'll have her PowerPoint. We will email that to everyone, and then we'll have this recorded session on the webinar archives too. So, one more question from anyone?
I don't have a question. It has Endless Spanish now. It's a new app and it's free actually.
Okay, Melissa just said
All the
there's.
Endless, you can put it Endless into the App
Wonderful.
Store.
Okay.
It brings up all of them. Don't pay that price, but they got one that's a bundle.
Okay.
Don't pay that because a lot of them are free now.
So Melissa says they also have an Endless Spanish, which actually I might get.
Me too.
Alphabet and
So if you go to
numbers
in
and
the App
Slinger.
Store and just type in Endless, there's a whole bunch of things.
Wordplay.
But don't get the bundle because the bundle's real expensive. Just look for the individual ones that you want. So that's a good resource too. So Jane, thank you very
Oh,
much.
my pleasure.
Thank everyone for your patience. I think we figured out that we can't have a bunch of apps opened at one time now.
I think we know.
So see, every time we learn something new, and in another year we're going to not have issues at all. Most of our webinars have gone just great. We've had two. Oddly enough, they both referred to technology that we had problems with. So, but we're learning. I'm learning. I appreciate everyone's patience. And the great thing is that we're getting the information out there, and that's the important part. Not that we're all spit and polished, but that we're all getting the information out there, and we're learning. And these are great resources. Jane, it's just great to know these resources and your opinion about them, and also to know some guidelines. I love the part about just changing the iPad cover, because that's a visual cue to say, oh, that's my school time now, or that's my, you know, I can watch a movie on this iPad now. So that's a great one I'm going to take home. So thank you very much, and this will be on the website next week. Talk to you later. Oh, Jane, thank you.
We did it.